truth then? If there is truth and you're helping me think that maybe there is truth, how do I find the truth?
Well, I think truth, when you deal with it philosophically, Louis, pardon the academic description in the beginning, truth is primarily a property of propositions. Truth is primarily a property of propositions. When you go into a court of law and somebody is accused of doing something to somebody else, isn't it interesting that in our culture, where Christianity has been attacked for being absolutist, all of a sudden when the relativists have taken charge of everything, think of the number of people that are going to jail for having done something many, many years ago, which they knew was wrong, but a relativist should not actually admit that it is wrong. The only reason the relativists propagate this thing is because they knew what was done was wrong. They have a point of reference for absolutes. So truth is primarily a property of propositions. But here's an important thing. There are two tests for truth. One is called the correspondence theory. The other is the coherence theory. Correspondence applies to particular statements. If you're accused of, say, committing a murder, and you stand in a courtroom and say, that is impossible for me to do that. I happened to have been in Boston when this event took place, somewhere in New Delhi or whatever. It is impossible for me to have done this. You are at that point defending your innocence on the basis of a particular statement which corresponds to reality. But then the attorney accusing you will not just look for the correspondence of your statement to reality, they will look for the coherence of the accretion of statements that you have given to state your innocence. So truth has the correspondence theory to it and the coherence theory to it. Both of these have to converge. How do we know when something is true? We apply the correspondence and the coherence, and philosophers will push it even further. They believe it has to be logically consistent, empirically adequate, and experientially relevant. Logically consistent, empirically adequate, and experientially relevant. Take those three things: logic, experience, and empirical evidence. What are those tests put to? Those tests are actually put to 4 questions in life that every one of us has to answer to form our worldview. So it's critical. What are those 4 questions? Origin, meaning, morality, and destiny. Where do I come from? What gives my life meaning? What differentiates good from evil? And what happens to a human being when he or she dies? Search for truth, correspondence, coherence, logical consistency, empirical adequacy, experiential relevance. So far we're dealing only with statements and theories. When you come to the person of Jesus Christ, you don't just have propositional statements about what he teaches. You have the embodiment, the incarnation of all that is consummately true. When you take his message and apply his answers to origin, meaning, morality, destiny, with logical consistency, empirical adequacy, experiential relevance, and you arrive at the truth, you find that he brings to your life the consistency that you need to have so that you don't live a contradictory life, the existential relevance in the meaning that he gives and the purpose that he gives to your life. But the most important thing he does for you, and I want you to hear this now, okay? This is why I am called to be an evangelist. People say I'm an apologist. Apologetics deals with the questions of people. Evangelism deals with the content of what it is you're presenting to people. So while we deal with the questions, this is the content. My answer to you is, my greatest enemy is not there. My greatest hostility is not out there. My greatest downfall and my greatest weakness is within my own heart. Oftentimes, like the Apostle Paul, I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I end up doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. Woe unto me, wretched man that I am. Who shall deliver me from this body of death? And to me, the person of Jesus Christ provides that coherent answer in the incarnation. He identifies my malady, provides for my malady, draws me into that relationship, takes me through the process of suffering, shows me the purity of Jesus himself in the way he taught and lived. And ultimately, in rising again from the dead, he teaches me that time is merely a temporal thing. We are here for eternity, and he alone is able to take us through the cross past the open tomb, into the very presence of God. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, neither has entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for them that love him. If you don't know Jesus today, take the Gospel of John, read it through 2 or 3 times, ask him to speak to you, and you will see the 2 phrases he uses of light and life will bring light to the darkness and life to the deadness that so stalks you and me. There is no other worldview that will give you corresponding and coherent answers to the 4 questions of life with logic, consistency, empirical adequacy, and experiential relevance. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes unto the Father except through him.
Everybody got it? Everybody get it? So when you're